Nothing says all American comfort foods than Yankee pot roast, and that is what we're making today. Vegan Yankee pot roast. What in the world would we use for our meat? Well, here we have a portobello mushroom, and this is what we're going to cut into the shape of squares. We want to get rid of the roundness of it and just cut it into squares, simply because we want this to look like meat. Although it isn't, we want it to look like it. So I'm just cutting it into a square and then cutting it up just like that. Simple. By the time we get this to where it's cooked down, the cell membranes have been broken down through this acids of the tamari and all the things that we're going to be using in this Yankee pot roast, you'll understand why it looks like that. So let's go over here and see what we've got going on in our kettle. So far I have the onions and the garlic in here, and they have sauteed just right. I'm going to go ahead and put into our pot our portobello mushroom. And we're going to let that break down. I'm going to be adding the tamari. This will give it the salt and help it break it down, as well as adding some marsala cooking wine, and that's going to give it a really nice balanced flavor. This is going to break down our mushroom and create it into the meat factor look that we're after. I have completely brought together our chicken style seasoning, our beef style seasoning. These are the seasonings that we're going to be adding in here to give it the flavor that we're looking for. More of that meat effect, and it also has all the wonderful melodies of flavors that you would create in a pot roast. This is a recipe that I created in school. I went to culinary school and I wanted to create a vegan recipe, so I did. Let's go ahead and add our vegetable stock and our potatoes. Ooh, it's already looking like Yankee pot roast. This is a dish that is something that you would put on the stove and let simmer. And the longer it simmers, the better it is. So here's our green beans. Nothing screams Yankee pot roast than corn, potatoes, carrots, all of these wonderful flavors. So what I did, instead of using just the kernel of corn, I used the whole corn and cut it into pieces, which really gives it a beautiful flair when you're dealing with this dish. And then I've cut the carrots, so we'll go ahead and add that. And this is going to cook down and reduce down. I'm going to be adding some water, just enough to give this what I'm looking for. And then we'll add our seasonings. I've got a little thyme here. Nothing screams prettiness as a thyme in our pot roast. It really gives it a beautiful flair, and the flavors of that are bursting. And of course, we always want to have that fat content to where it gives us the appearance of meat, and that would be our olive oil that we would add to this, because we're looking for that look. We always eat with our eyes first, and this is a comfort food from being a little kid. And yep, it's looking really beautiful. I'm going to add some celery now, just enough to give it what I'm after. I've cut the celery in different sizes, big sizes, little sizes, because when you do a pot roast, it really is got big chunks of vegetables in it. So I like the leaves in the celery, and I really like how that looks because of the fact that it gives it a really good flavor. And so that we're just going to let that cook down. Peas are another part of a pot roast, so we'll add some peas to this. And we're going to go ahead and let this start to boil. And as that's working, I'll add just a little bit more water. I know the recipe says 4 cups of liquid here, but I just don't want it to overdo it. So this is looking great. We'll go ahead and let that do its magic. I'm going to add just a dash of salt. All right. Now let's talk about the kale. The kale is a beautiful addition to the Yankee pot roast. And this kale is fresh and vibrant and curly kale, and what we do in order to pull it off the stem is we just pull it like that. And it's so simple. Look how nice that is. It came right off. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of break it up and put it in here. No sense, and we don't have to cut it. We can just break it. Kale's easy, easy. And this will give it more greenery that we're after. Perfect. I'm going to add that last little bit of water. Wonderful. And we'll add the rest of our kale. Like I said, we can just pull it off the leaf. Whoops. And then just break it right into our pot. This is an easy, easy, easy recipe. I really, really like it. By the time it all breaks down and cooks, it is a winner, winner. All right, so we're just going to let this go ahead and simmer. Nice. And we'll let that cook just a little bit. Wow, now that is Yankee pot roast. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is, remember, we still have our potato flakes that we are going to actually be using to thicken this up a little. And one of the things we do not want to do is lose some of the items that we're going to be plating. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out our portobellos, which is our pot roast itself, and set those aside. And I'm going to be take part of the liquid here and put it in the blender and blend it up with some of the vegetables, because we are after a more thickened sauce to go with our Yankee pot roast. So as you can see, I'm just kind of pulling these out. Pull some corn out just to get it out of our way. Some of the vegetables. Okay. Perfect. We'll just set this aside. We'll take our ladle, and we are after the liquid. Going right into our blender. Perfect. All right. Adding our potato flakes to the blender, and then going ahead and blending this up. Perfect. As you can see, that made more of a gravy, thicker sauce, and that's pretty much what we're after. Okay, so we'll go ahead and mix this up. Adding back our wonderful vegetables. Setting this aside. Giving this a taste, making sure it is exactly the flavor that I'm after. Oh yeah, that's perfect. That just thickened it up into more of a gravy motif that we're after, and it looks beautiful. So now it's time to go ahead and plate our Yankee pot roast. Lovely kale. We've got the beautiful portobellas that look as though we have prepared a beef in this. The carrots are stunning, all the colors. Peas, potatoes. We have celery in here. The corn, which is amazing. Wow, this looks great. I just love plating it because it's such a star. This thing is the star of the show. Just the star. This, my friends, is one of the most amazing vegan Yankee pot roasts you'll ever enjoy.